to the Sip and Saga Society, where we cover histories, mysteries, and just stories worth telling. My name is Karina. Hi, this is our video episode for the month, and I am your host. Joining us today, we have Christina. Yay,
Hi.
Christina. Brandy,
Hey, yeah.
and Greg.
Hey.
Today is our monthly Little Sips episode where we cover a different story that just fits a theme every month. This theme we decided on because our topic for book club is, or our book for book club is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So we wanted to go with a sports theme. Honestly, I am not a sports girl. I'm not gonna lie. I only know about pole dancing, and that is it. So I'm here to learn with everyone. And I think it's gonna be a fun episode. But before we get to that, we have our very important question. What are you sipping, Randy?
Oh, you know me. I have my tried and true glass of very fresh Brita water. And I usually stop by Chipotle today, so I have a Mr. Pibb instead of a Dr. Pepper, but you know, we're
It's
making it
still
work.
good, Randy. It's still
I
good.
love it. I
I
love
do too.
Mr. Pibb, but I'm not gonna be out there listening to the haters say you're not a true Dr. Pepper fan.
It's a good alternative. It's a
Yeah.
good alternative.
hmm
I feel like some people
That's
are
fair.
really into Mr. Pibb though. Like
Yeah.
there's Dr. Pepper
I
people
had
and
it
then
when I
there's
was a
like
kid
Mr. Pibb.
because they had it in they had it in like the vending machine at
hmm
school, and everyone was like, "Oh
hmm
my God, they have Mr. Pibb!"
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I like
it's
it.
good.
It's better than a Dr. Thunder or something. And 10 times better than a Coke. So I'm
Mm.
still winning.
We have hot takes today, everyone. Okay, Christina, what are you sipping? I want to know
I'm sipping Dr. Pepper.
the
Surprise,
alternative.
surprise.
I love that cup though. That's cute.
I love it, but it's glass and it makes me nervous to have it around my children.
Mm.
Valid. I mean, I'd be nervous to have it around myself, so I
Yeah,
get that.
same. Yeah, yeah.
I am nauseous today, so I am sipping a bubbly, but also this beverage I got from Sprouts. It's called Tractor. That's the brand. It's exclusive to Sprouts. They made a very big deal about it. And it's got passion, mango, organic haymaker. And I think the reason it's called that is because it has what is it called? Apple cider vinegar. It's one of those health drinks where they're like,
Oh
we
yeah,
added adaptogens. Nobody knows what that is, but we've just been adding it to every beverage. Like they just make things up these
yeah.
days.
Like there's some sort of mushrooms in there or something,
Yes. And you're like, we don't
like
know what they
reishi.
do, but it's a cute can though. It's like,
That's really cute. The flavor sounds good too.
it said it had ginger in it. That's why I'm like risking it because I'm already nauseous. So I'm like, okay, if I drink something unsettling, what will happen?
That sounds pretty good though.
Oh, it is actually really good. But okay, Greg, tell us what you're sipping, and I've decided you're gonna go first
Oh, I'm gonna go first. Okay,
for our little
mine's just
sips
a
today.
simple Cutwater Long Island iced tea because we're snowed in and I've run out of the fun and interesting stuff, and that's what I've got to drink at this point. So I'm not a sports person, and I was like, what should I do for this? Because I mean, I really don't I mean, I'm a historian. Like a lot of us, like I had some friends in grad school who were into sports, but some of us weren't because some of us were like really into video games or something, and that was more me. But so I was like, what have I read that could fit in with this at any point? But I actually remembered a book that I read in grad school that I thought was really cool. So this is going to be like a little bit from that. It's by an author named Kenneth Greenberg, and the book's called Honor and Slavery, and it has the longest subtitle in history for a history book, and that's why I remember this. So the subtitle is Lies, Duels, Noses, Masks, Dressing as a Woman, Gifts, Strangers, Deaths, Humanitarianism, Slave Rebellions, the Pro-Slavery Argument, Baseball, Hunting, and Gambling in the Old South. So it's this like hodgepodge culture book that's like really cool and really interesting and like looking at uh, stuff. So he talks about how baseball is basically like, there's this debate about when the game started and like when did it become America's game and like, some people who like early promoters of the game like suggested everyone played it and that it was like, everywhere. And so there's these stories of like Confederate soldiers and Northern soldiers playing like in the camps when someone was captured or something like that. And basically he's like, there's not a lot of evidence for that. Like we only have a few anecdotes, but like there's a lot of interesting stuff like in terms of like he's like baseball actually doesn't catch on in the South until much later than like promoters like to pretend it did. So he's like, why is that? So he goes looking for like information about that, right? And that's like part of that chapter. So one of the anecdotes he finds is from a guy who was interviewed in the 1930 WPA project, where they would go around and interview people who had been enslaved, who are still alive. And so these are like really important for historians. We use these all the time to like get evidence about what slavery was like. And he found an anecdote on baseball, and so the enslaved person was telling them that like the master was learning the game and like, they're playing it on the plantation because I guess some Northerners had taught them the game. And so the master hit the ball and like knocked the ball way over everywhere. And everyone's telling him, run, Kitchen, because his name's Kitchen. Run, Kitchen, run, Kitchen. But he stood there and shook his head and said, why should I have to go? I get to hit the ball two more times. And I'm paraphrasing. And so then the person gets the ball because y'all know kind of how baseball works. Like you hit the ball, someone tries to tag you out, comes back and tags him out, and they're like, you're out. And so this guy says, so then the master got so mad, he threw the ball down and said, damn, such a game. And so he's like, this is an important thing that I found because um, you basically it's proof that slavery, like this guy never had played this game. He didn't understand it. So like, and this is in like 1850 something or 60 something. So like even by that point, by the Civil War, Southerners don't know what this game is. And he thinks it's interesting because like for someone like Southerners didn't want to like run away, right? Running is seen as cowardly, like in a duel, or it's seen as, an act that enslaved people do, right? They have slave catchers who try to catch these people. So, like, the very concept of, like, you hit the ball and then you run, and then now people are trying to catch you with the ball would have been like an affront to a Southerner. And so he gets into, like, all the cultural reasons why that is like a little bit more. I don't want to go on and take up too much time, but it's a really, really interesting book. I love adding more stuff to your list of books to read. But it's really interesting because like there's stuff about cross-dressing in it, and there's like Southerners who cross-dressed. Like there's some really wild stuff that he's found in the archives, and it's a really cool book.
Greg, that is fascinating. I have never, it's one of those things you don't ever think about until you start
Yeah,
thinking about it, and you're like, wait, I hadn't ever thought about it. I've never thought about like,
yeah.
When was baseball invented?
Well, that's the thing, right? So, like, there's this whole debate about, like, did Americans invent baseball or is it based on cricket or something? And so he talks about that a little bit too in that chapter. Like, we don't really know, but, like, claiming it's American is like, it's really probably tied back to cricket. But there's, like, it became unique around this period, right? Like, it starts to develop into a game in, like, the 1840s. And so he also talks about why, like, why was this popular in the North? Like Northerners formed hundreds of baseball leagues at the same time that Southerners don't know anything about baseball, right? And like this is popular because he gets into why like working class culture and the market revolution and like early industrialization, like why would a game like that appeal to people? Because it's fast paced. You can get it in after an 8 hour shift in the factory and then go home before sunset. Like it's a relatively quick game. And so he looks at like how like when you think about how Southerners like they hunt and a hunt is a multi-day like
Hmm.
thing, like, they like this slow, leisurely kind of games, and this would seem like bewildering to a Southerner, right? Like that doesn't jive with Southern plantation life and culture, you know. Um, that's all about leisure built on the back of enslaved people. So it's really, really interesting.
When you said fast pace, I was like, we're talking about baseball?
I
No, we
literally
think that
was
is slow
yeah,
Are we
nowadays.
talking
yeah, I
about
was
the
But
same
like,
game?
That is what I
and
was
that's
thinking
really
too. I was like,
interesting
that's a
too,
whole
right?
day.
Yeah,
That's
no,
really
if we're
so
gonna
interesting
go
many
watch
too,
innings.
right?
baseball.
That
There's
like,
a lot going
you know,
on.
it's cool, but it's interesting to think that like at a time before we have TV and stuff like that, baseball when it came out was fast. Like it was like a
Yeah,
bustling thing that happened in the city, right? It appealed to city folk in this period. And so it's really, really interesting.
I have never thought about baseball this much and this hard.
Me
But I,
neither.
yeah. But it is really interesting. And then I've never thought about how slow paced the South really is. But I'm honestly thinking, yes, it is slow paced and they are living off the backs of enslaved people. Like those are just facts. But it's so hot in the South and I don't want to
Uh,
move either. I do not want to run
yeah.
fast when it's already hot. That is
Well,
also
he
a
so he
concern of
talks
mine.
about some other really interesting stuff in that chapter too, or the book about how like when you think about that, like it's all about leisure. Like the ideal is that you don't work with your hands, right? That is
Right.
like that is an ideal. That's something that separates you as a master, as a plantation owner from people who have to do something, right? And but so like they weirdly see enslaved people as extensions of themselves too. Right. And so he talks about how, like, in some of the language you see when people talk about hunting, they will like describe like their African enslaved followers who are there as like part of this whole hunting party actually shooting the animals. They'll mention that they shoot it and at the same time be like, I caught this huge animal, it was this big. Like they see them as extensions of themselves, which is wild, and he talks about some other ways that happened.
That's wild. Because, like,
It
if I
is.
ever went like hunting with my husband and I was just there, and I was like, yeah, I got this, he would look at me and be like, girlfriend, no, you did not.
But it's like, but do you view him as an extension of yourself? And you're like,
Yeah,
by getting
yeah.
this, we got this, I got this.
Christina's like, yours is mine.
Exactly.
I
Ours
did
is
the,
mine.
and
No, but
I
I think
didn't have
that
to do
way.
that.
And the cross dressing bit is really interesting too. Um, because there's this whole like long extended anecdote that I can't get into because I don't want to take up too much time. But
No, 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 Greg, because you just casually
Take the
went,
time.
I don't want to take up too much time, but there is
no, 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 I
cross-dressing and
sincerely
baseball
don't want
together
to.
somehow, and you're just gonna casually mention it but not say more?
Well,
Because what I'm thinking, do you guys know the bananas? The banana team?
Oh,
mhm.
I've seen
Savannah
that. Yeah,
Bananas or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
That you said cross-dressing in relation to baseball, my head immediately went to Savannah Bananas. I was like, that is something that they would thrive on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
hmm
it's crazy because, like, as far as you go back, which I'm not sure how far you're gonna go back with cross-dressing and stuff, but it's so crazy because with the way that the world is today, and you saying how far that goes back and how
Mhm.
that is it's still a very big topic, or like people have very big opinions on it, even though it goes back, you know.
Yeah. I think he's talking about like 1830s, 40s, 50s, like kind of
Mhm.
pre-Civil War, right? It's antebellum, but like it's like probably mostly like 1840s and 50s. And like I'm probably butchering this. So this is like trying to remember a tidbit of a book that I read over a decade ago. But he talks about this one plantation owner who's like recorded it's either in his diary or someone writes about it, about how like he would greet people at parties, especially like if it was like he had invited people to his house who were inferiors, basically in drag, like in women's clothing, and would do these like mind game power play things to sort of like insist that like he was a man, right? Despite all the evidence being like to the contrary. And it's like, and they were like, it's the sort of like the way that like just how hierarchical Southern culture was, that it's like as an inferior, like you couldn't even disagree with that. And so like it gets into the weird, like just some really weird shit. That's fascinating. Like it's a really like I don't often recommend like an academic history book that I'm like, oh, like someone who's like who reads a lot would really, like I read some stuff that's really niche, but this book is just like it's really fascinating when you dig into it.
I'm gonna
The
have
more
to
you
read the
bring
book
up, the
now,
more
Greg.
I'm like, what is happening? What's going to happen
Yeah,
next?
yeah.
That is not how I thought you were going to talk about cross-dressing.
Me either. I didn't think we were going to. Okay.
No, I mean, I think that there's some
feel
other things he
I feel
talks
a
about, but
little
that's the bit in that chapter that, like, that particular anecdote I
Hmm.
remembered because I was like, it's just so
yeah, that has
wild,
an
you know?
impact. That would have an
Yeah.
impact.
And also,
Yeah.
like, people who think of, like, Gone with the Wind and, like, Southern culture, they also don't imagine, like, what's his name? Like, Rhett Butler, like, in drag, right? Like,
But also, who's
you
around to
wouldn't.
tell
Now I
you
am.
anything? No one's going to judge you. Imagine having that much audacity. Like, think about it. No one,
It is
he is the
pretty
most
wild.
powerful man in the land. Who is going to be like,
Well, it's like
bro, what are you
Lyndon
wearing?
Johnson as president did wild shit. Like he would just randomly whip his dick out to people. Like literally, like
I feel
because
like
he
more
because
presidents do that than we know of.
no, like
I
and
mean,
there's anecdotes from like press people who were close to him and like writing about his presidency where he would like greet heads of state, like they would come be welcomed into the Oval Office and he's literally like got the door open taking a shit as like a power play.
Okay.
I just find that funny because in my household, I have no privacy. So there's like always family meetings in the bathroom. So
I feel like you guys are taking it in two different directions, though, than this man. You're not sitting there like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
more powerful than all of you from the toilet. Like, that's wild.
Is
I don't think
Great.
I'd leave thinking he was more powerful, truthfully, but
Yeah, I don't know how I take that sitting in there, like
Sitting with him.
sitting
Yeah,
with him through that. Like,
it's
No, but it was like
weird.
mind game power play stuff to like throw people off, and intimidate them.
hmm
It's really weird. Like he was a weird dude.
That's what happens when you give people too much power, is all I have to say.
honestly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'm
That's
still processing. I'm gonna have to find this book though.
me too. I mean, that might have to
It's
be
I'll
gonna
share
be
it
my
with y'all
new
like in
obsession
the chat
after
afterwards.
sand.
yes,
You would
because
do
I
this, Greg, after I told you last week that I had a hard time with finding a good book to read.
decided Christina goes next.
Okie dokie. So I did Olympic sex facts. I tried to put in some kind of, I don't know, I guess stuff that I felt like was interesting, and things that I guess I just didn't know about it. And so starting off with like, this is a place where it's called the Olympic Village, and it's a temporary, secure residential complex built for athletes, officials, trainers during the Olympic Games. And I didn't realize they had their own thing. Like, I thought it was one of those, like, wherever it is, they go to that city, they stay somewhere in the area kind of thing. I didn't realize they built them a temporary village, which makes sense though, because I mean, everyone is in one place. You probably can keep tabs on everyone. Um, and this is where the best athletes come, and they live there for the time being. I put in like some little bullet points, like there was some kind of like quotes. They said that it was a ripe time for extracurricular activities. In 2024, 300,000 condoms have been distributed, which averaged about 30 condoms per athlete. And I read that the Olympic Village has a long storied history of like hooking up, and it dates back to at least 1976, Summer Olympics in Montreal, where a diver by the name of Greg Louganis, I think is how you say that, commented on Team Russia's, and in quotation, sense of sexual liberation. And I didn't put this in my little bullet point, but like his reasoning for saying that, he said that they were just very like open about, I guess, affection. And I guess he ended up kind of like sleeping with one of Team Russia's like divers and stuff. And he said that it just like, I don't know, like it was kind of cute. Like he was like, we just like met, like we like got together and we like hugged and cuddled and whatever. And it was just like, it seemed very sweet. Um, and then now this next bullet point, it said by 1988, the Olympic Association had to ban outdoor sex, after officials kept finding condoms on the roof of the Olympic Village in Seoul. And so they were like, we're not going to do that. And then I grabbed another quote. This one is terrible. And you guys will know what I mean when I say it. But it was another, I didn't put his name in it, but he goes, the girls are in skimpy panties and bras. The dudes are in underwear. You see what everyone's working with from the jump. Even if their face is a 7, their body is a 20. And I was like, oh my God. Um, and they said about 70 to 75% of the athletes have sex in the village. It's not that it surprises me, but I was just like, dang, that's a lot. That's a lot for us. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people, but they said that in 2020, Tokyo Olympics did have a sex ban due to COVID. So they were really practicing social distancing during that time. And I thought this was really interesting. A quote from one of the other athletes said that they heavily use like Tinder and other dating apps. And they said that like Tinder in the Olympic Village was like next level because like everyone's just highly attractive and they're just in great shape and like you find all sorts of people.
Not to interrupt you, Christina, but I'm pretty sure there's a video out there of someone doing their Tinder, like swiping on their Tinder in the
Yeah.
village. It is immaculate.
Honestly, I want to go sit, but like I want to just be close by just so I can see. I want to know
But I
because
just
I
Yeah.
like
bet.
also get it where it's like you're all like you're gonna be super focused on competing later, and so you're just like, how do I calm my nerves? And it's like orgy fuck fest, basically.
Apparently
Literally,
outside is the way to go. Yeah.
Well, but
there
also
was,
Like, if people are banging on the roof, like that's a
yeah.
wild time, you
But I'm
yeah.
know?
pretty sure they stay in the Olympic Village the whole 2 weeks of the Olympics, regardless of when their event is. So, like, people who finish on the first day, they're like, I got
You're just
the
hanging it.
whole
Oh, I didn't
two
think about
weeks.
that. Yeah, you're like my event's done. I know if I got my medal or not. Now I'm just chilling.
Yeah. Now
Oh
let's
shit.
just get
Yeah.
Now
up
it doesn't
to
matter if you have
fun.
a sex injury, just go at it.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, and
yeah, I
that
didn't
was
even think
one
of
of the
that.
things too, Greg, like per to what you were saying, like that's actually like they didn't say that they recommended it, but they were like it does help kind of like release that stress or release any kind of
Yeah.
like nerves. There was one I think where they said like they did end up having kind of like this big like bonfire and like even the officials that were there were like y'all are here to have fun, like just don't do anything stupid and like they were like, yeah, like rub up on each other, do what like do all this stuff. And um I found a fact and I thought it was kind of crazy because like I was trying to tie back because I know that you guys like kind of I don't want to say like controversial, but like things that were like, wow, that's fucked up, you know. But it said from 1968 to 1999, female athletes were forced to undergo sex testing, which was, I guess, chromosome checks to verify their femininity. And before that, some women were actually subjected to nude parades to prove that they were women. Yeah. And I was like, I'm throwing that in there because I was like, damn, like I like didn't know how to take it because I'm like, I mean, aren't y'all already wearing like, you know what I mean? Like they're what is it? Like whatever they're wearing is fairly
Skimpy.
right and like tight anyway. So I'm like, you
Mhm.
can't tell through, you know. Yeah, Karina. I know.
I'm so mad. I hate that even whenever a woman succeeds, we still have to bring her down somehow.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We still like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you're the best in your sport, but also parade naked for us to just so we can make sure. I'm
Make
sure
sure you're
that's
a
why they're
woman.
doing it.
So I
Yeah.
mean, my
Ugh.
academic reading for this week was on is I'm teaching this class on witchcraft, and so it was this book about the some of the witch hunting in the English Civil War, and it like so, in so many of the cases they would strip these women to look for witches' teats, which is basically like, and women did this, so like that's the one thing that's like okay, kind of propriety. It's not like a bunch of men doing this, but it's still like humiliating to have like a bunch of people pick all
Mhm.
over your body and inspect you looking for like a mark that an imp or a familiar is sucking your blood. And weirdly enough, they always really looked at the genitals. Like that kind of shit's been going on in some form for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And my last little fact, which obviously y'all know this, but they said post-competition release, athletes often engage in sexual activity after their events are finished, Randy. After that one, and they have the whole 2 weeks.
I was,
And it
yeah.
leads to intense like partying and all that. But it is like there are some where there are like some athletes that were like, like you have to have that balance of like being engaged. Like when it's go time. And then afterwards, you party. But there's some people that just kind of go buck wild when they get there. There's people that don't do it at all. Um, and they said at one point, like some of the athletes try to like make it not as like serious. Like they were like, oh no, like that doesn't happen. They're like, that doesn't happen here. And they had the saying like what happens in the village stays in the village and stuff like that.
Do y'all think they're doing drugs? Like, if your event's over and you know you're not going to be tested for a while, are they like popping Molly and like I'm just
A
imagining like rave
hundred
like
percent.
orgy
Yeah.
shit, where it's just like the kind of shit that goes on at a music festival.
Yeah,
I
because
mean, I
after
don't doubt
that,
it.
like you definitely are on vacation,
Like,
right? At
yeah, like you're
minimum.
done for a while, and like Molly's going to be out of your system in a certain period of time, right? Like,
Greg, you're
why
asking
not?
the
That
right
You
questions.
are.
that seems
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
right
no. I
vibe,
mean, I
honestly.
can totally see like a
Yeah.
lot of people partying like that. Like fuck, I
Hmm.
remember when like one of the fraternities at Southern Methodist University like was busted for like manufacturing a bunch of drugs. Like they were like producing drugs. Like I'm just saying like these athletes like have been to college and stuff and have probably partied. So I wouldn't be surprised if people are like it's like a rave.
I would
Oh
be
yeah.
surprised if they're not doing it.
Yeah, there's no way that they're not. I mean,
The amount that I know about Christina's topic, though, I didn't even have to do the research. I just love listening to it every time it comes out. Let me give you a fact, Christina. Did you know that in addition to the beds that were supposed to be built so that they couldn't have sex on them, they ran out of condoms midway through the Olympics. So they had to ship in like 20,000 more condoms because they wanted to make sure that the village was safe.
oh my God.
Hey, they're taking care of them.
I mean,
Y'all
Safety
and
watch
first.
The
they,
Boys? The on Amazon, I think. The Boys, like the fucked up
Oh,
superhero show.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just imagining Hero-gasm, when like all the superheroes get away and it's just an orgy.
Okay. I think that's probably accurate.
Especially if there's drugs, 100% for
hmm
sure.
hmm
it's just crazy to me to think about like how much stamina these people have,
Well, that's also the other
you know?
thing. They can just keep going.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that
that is
might be too
wild.
much. Ah, okay, Randy, it's your turn.
Okay, wonderful. So actually, I'm really glad that Christina went. Sorry, of course that would happen on my turn. I'm really glad that Christina went first because I was really wanting to do this. I know we're doing it for the Hunger Games, yes, but I really pushed for this topic because of the Olympics, the Winter Olympics coming up. I love sports, actually. My sister and I used to watch all kinds of sports all the time. Like in high school, I was the tennis manager at my school. I didn't play, but my best friend was on the team. So, and her mom was the coach. So I became the tennis manager so I could leave school and go with them to all the tennis matches. And I got so into it that I would wake up in the middle of the night to watch the Australia Open. And like, I was doing all kinds of crazy things. But my sister and I would get hooked on sports like that. And we loved almost nothing more than winter sports, like X Games, all of that kind of thing. But, and I don't know how many people know this about me, but like ice skates absolutely terrify me. especially when you involve children with it. Like, I don't understand why so many people are willing to put themselves in that much danger. So, winter sports are off the table for me, but I still love to watch them. Um, I am geared up for these risky games that are coming up. And so that's why I decided to do my inspiring sport on the skeleton. So here are some interesting facts about the skeleton. When these athletes are going down, they are going over 80 miles per hour, with some of the most elite of these sliders. That is what these athletes are officially called, sliders. They are going north of 90 miles an hour, which gives them about 5 Gs of force on their body. Okay. There are no brakes on this bad boy. That sled has nothing. These athletes, if they're trying to slow down, have to use snow or, prayers to kind of get their sled to calm down and stop going so quickly. They do have blades that are running along the bottom of the sled called runners, so just as deadly as ice skates. Um, and it has an absolutely high of injury rate. There is something called sled head that happens from constant vibrations, G-forces, and concussions that happen when these athletes run into the wall. So, I mean, this sport is really only for the dauntless. And I want to clarify a couple of things before we go any further because you may not know what the skeleton is. I just kind of jumped into it because I assume everybody has my level of love for it. So there are three major sledding races, right? So there's the bobsled. I think most people have seen Cool Running. So it's like the four-man sledding team. They're in a bobsled. They're going down an ice chute. There's the luge, which is a sled that is manned by a slider. Let's assume they're also called the same thing. I did not research that, so I have no idea. And they're going feet first down the ice chute. So it's a single or sometimes a joint sport, so they can have teams where there are two people on the sled. That's not usually what happens. Most of the time when you see it, it'll be an individual, but it is possible. The skeleton is a face first sledding race. So this is when the person is the slider is getting a running start of about 30 to 50 meters, and they are jumping onto their sled and going head first down this ice chute. So they're going 90 miles an hour head first on a couple of blades of steel and carbon fiber. I just think it's an absolutely insane way to spend your day.
I was gonna say you said head first and my booty clenched because
How long
that's
has this been
scary.
in sport? Like I've heard of
Okay,
like you
so
said sled and luge, but like I've never heard of this. And I mean I don't really watch the Winter Games. Like every once in a while you just flip through
oh,
channels or something.
I will be glued to my TV. I've watched most of the qualifiers already, but
That's
what,
cool.
what I would so what the background of it. So that's what I did most of my research on, um, because I didn't know anything about the origins either. So it was developed sometime in the late 1800s in St. Moritz, Switzerland. So there's not an exact date. I can't really find anything that gives me an exact year. Some say 1882, some say 1884. Um, it I have no idea exactly when it was developed, but it was done in Switzerland. Um, to your point, it is considered the world's first sliding sport. That's how it's classified. It's not sledding, it's a sliding sport. But there are the three. So there's the bobsled, the luge, and the skeleton. Nowhere could I find why the skeleton was considered the first sliding sport because the luge and the bobsleigh all had conceptions like in the exact same decade of the 1800s. So it's really kind of confusing to me why they decided that was the order that things went in, especially when you consider the fact that when they were doing this, d developing the skeleton races, they didn't go head first. They didn't go head first at first. So they were feet first for the first 10 years. The whole first decade of the sport, they were going feet first until it became like a thing in Switzerland and they had tracks and athletes that were competing, and someone decided to try a new style and won going head first. That's when the skeleton style of the sport was actually developed. So I want to talk about the sled now, uh, because the sled is what the sport was named for. It's named the skeleton for one of two reasons. So the first one is that the first sled ever introduced, was said to have had a bare rib cage-like appearance, and that's why it was called the skeleton. The other origin story is that it is a play off of the Norwegian word "skjelki," which is the word for sled. I I don't know. Again, there's not a lot of documentation around this. Um, and I really don't understand how much of this history is conflated with other things. So I did a whole offshoot because in this sport they call the first sleds toboggans. For those of you who don't know, toboggans are a native invention. Like when I think toboggan, I'm thinking Canada, Algonquian. I'm thinking, you know, things that happened here in North America on this continent. I'm not thinking of the Swiss Alps at all. And the more research I did, the more that it looks like European sleds had more lead-in and influence over the development of the modern skeleton sled. So, like, unlike native toboggans that were for deep snow and didn't have runners and were for hauling material and large numbers of people and things like that, the European sleds did have blades and were lithe and really equipped for only one person to be driving. And they were there for pace and weren't there for like hauling things and that kind of stuff. So I all I can say is that tobogganing had become popular in North America at in the late 1800s, and it says that there was some influence on what the English chose to do in Switzerland, because it was actually a group of British soldiers. So the story goes that a group of British soldiers used the sleds to ride the first run. But I don't know if it was like the influence of the toboggan, but it was a whole confusing thing for me on the history of this sled, because it doesn't seem like it was actually even done in Europe. So anyway, the on the sled is heavy. So there are regulations about how heavy the sled can be because it contributes to the speed, right? When we're thinking physics, the heavier that the object is, the faster it's going to go down the chute. So the men's sled cannot exceed 99 pounds and the women's cannot exceed 83. Those are the sled weights themselves. Combined, so the sled and the person, it cannot exceed 254 pounds for men and 225 pounds for women. And they say that this is really in an effort to keep the sledding fair. And they do lots of things to keep the sledding fair. So one of the things that I love most about the skeleton race, it is just about going fast, right? Like it is just about crossing that finish line first. Whatever you need to do to get there. And if you guys have seen Cool Runnings, you'll know that the big spoiler alert, the big turn of like one of the big turns is that he's accused of cheating Well, actually, I don't know. This is spoiler. This is from the beginning. He's accused of cheating because he put weights in the sled in the bobsled to make it go faster, and that's why he wasn't a coach anymore, right? So there are regulations on the sleds for the skeleton as well. They are kept in a secret area that the Olympics team, like the people running the games, they will take it to a specific area and no one is allowed to touch the sleds. You cannot touch them. No work can be done on them. And if you do need to do something, you are accompanied by someone and you have been given express authority to be in that room to do something to that sled. So they are like super, super serious about those the sleds and the rules of this game.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do the teams make their own sleds? Because like I'm thinking like Pinewood Derby when I did Boy Scouts and stuff, where like you make your little like
No.
wood
So
car and stuff. Or is there
it's
like a
not.
standard one that like the Olympics they make and everyone uses these sleds and they keep them in a
Oh,
locker room or
no. So
something?
each team does make their own sled. So in terms
Okay.
of like they're not the athletes, the sliders aren't doing their own sleds. Like the sport started off with wood sleds and then now they've developed from steel into I think it was like carbon fiber, fiberglass, those types of materials to like make it high impact, but then the actual shell that's put on and the blades are heavy. Like I said, the sleds themselves are sometimes close to 100 pounds um, to add weight to the run. Okay, so how do you steer this death trap, right? So in a really funny way, your head, your shoulders, your knees, and your toes. That's how you steer. So, one thing that I don't think I mentioned yet is that on the sled, you're only about 2 inches above the ice. So, when the rider is sliding, their chin is this far away from the ice, from the sled. They're just like, doo-doo, and there's the ice right here. So, any type of movement that they make, any shift, when they get on that sled, they are tucked so tight to be aerodynamic that any slight shift is what is moving them along the track. There are two lines on the track. So the track, or also called runs, depending whichever one you want to use, those are the ice chutes that the riders go down, right? So there are curves, there are straightaways, there's a lot of variation in the track, especially now since they've been able to build the track. So in olden days, they were really only ever able to do the races in Saint, oh, whatever that place was called, in Switzerland, because that was the only place that there was enough compacted snow, there was enough ice, there was the room and the space. So in the Olympic Games, the skeleton was only there 1928 and 1948. It wasn't until we could make ice tracks ourselves that it was reintroduced in 2002. But I say this because oh no, I totally lost my thread. Where was I? Oh, the lines. So they now there's a lot of variation in the sport and in the shoot. So there's a lot of curves, there's straightaways, and there are different lines. So there's the high line, which is when you're riding in a curve. So pretend that my hand is the curve. There's the high line up here. So the edge is right here, and it takes a lot of skill to be able to ride the high line because you're teetering on shooting your sled out of the chute itself. So you're riding right on the edge. But the benefit to that is that you're gaining speed. You're getting a lot of speed in that turn that's propelling you through the next straight. Now, riding the low line, right, curving with the low line at the bottom, that's going to be a safer route, but you're going to lose speed. Why would a rider want to do this? Well, there's sometimes an S curve or double curves long loops that will come up, and riding a low line right before you hit a high line can increase your efficiency on the run. So, like I said, this is all about finishing first and finishing fastest. So, just like F1 drivers, just like downhill skiers, these athletes are looking at this track saying, what's going to benefit me the most? What line am I going to be running in this, directed by my shoulder twitches and my knee adjustments on this sled, that is going to get me the fastest time. So it's really a sport about the person melding with the sled, right? A lot of the riders talk about having a feeling when they're on the track. Like they know and they can feel how the sled wants to go. It sounds kind of like I said, they're one with their sled. It's really kind of cool. Um, but it's all about the timing. So how many runs do they do? So each athlete, when it's time for them to run in the Olympic Games, there are four heats that are done. So every athlete gets two heats on the first day and two heats on the second day. Those will be averaged and will determine, with that average time, it will determine who the winner is. So, like I said, they're really, really specific. And because this sport has gotten so competitive, especially recently, there's over 30 countries that'll be competing in this Winter Olympic sport now. Um, it really, really matters the timing. So they have it down to hundredths of a second. And I think it said the last gold and silver split was by 0.31 hundredths of a second. Yeah, which is crazy when you think about it. Because that's just these, they're getting the runs in, they're learning off of each other. It just shows how much skill it takes in that sport. Okay, so I think I covered most of the really cool things. I think that it's really cool that they have international skeleton schools. That's something that the Federation did in order to like bring more people into the sport so they could have it as an Olympic game. They did that in 1986, which was really nice. Uh, and and something I did find really interesting is that this year will be the first year that they have mixed team skeleton events. So it'll be a run of both a man and a woman. So they'll do a team where each partner will do two runs, if I understood the rules correctly. So that was approved in 2022 because of the sport's growth. So I can't wait to see it because I've never seen it publicly publicized on TV. So I can't wait to see what that looks like. Okay. In the words of the elite slider John Daly, embrace the speed.
Randy, that was wild. I did not know what was happening for the first like third, but once we figured out what was going on, once I figured out we were
Sorry.
sledding, real
Sorry.
talk, when you brought it up to us, I thought the skeleton, I thought you were talking about the human skeleton. And
Oh
I was
no,
like,
I
okay,
meant the
Randy's gonna
sport.
tie this in somehow. And that's why I was like, okay. But now I'm very intrigued to know more about the sport because like the more you describe it, the more I'm like, these people are just doing death-defying activities for
They
fun.
really are. I mean, they've only had one actual death on the sport, and but the track is really deadly. Like the luge, not last Olympics, the one in Russia, the Sochi Olympic Games, there was a Georgian luge uh, rider who died after going off of the track because there was faults with the track itself, had some um malfunction, some sort of maintenance issue. And so he went off the track and went into a steel beam. Like, so this
Shit.
is not, these sports are not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I had to
That's
look it up.
wild.
I
I didn't
Googled
know what
it.
you were. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say, I didn't, when you mentioned it in the chat that we have like to plan this stuff, I was like, I don't know what that is, but I was like, I resisted the urge to look it up because I wanted to be surprised and this to be my like reaction, and that's wild.
I hope you love it. I
No, but
respect the
same,
hell out
Greg.
of these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I didn't look it
As
up
someone
until
who's
you
not
literally
interested,
talked about it.
yeah, like as someone who's not really interested in sports, like that's really interesting to me.
And I'm really intrigued about like how do they go about getting faster? Like what little tweaks do you have to do to be like, oh, if you do this, you get, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm very
No,
intrigued by the physics of it.
Karina, I can send you an article on the physics of it because there I did read one by PBS that was like talking about this. It is down to like toe adjustments. Like they'll run through like the athletes, one of the things that is so great about them being able to make tracks now is that the athletes have access to runs that'll, because the Kurt like doing a half pipe or something, it's what a half pipe is, right? So you can build a half pipe anywhere. You can, if you watch the documentary on Shaun White, he literally just made a half pipe in Colorado for his training. So like that's kind of what they do for sliders. They go and they make tracks with S curves and omega curves and like loops so that they can do their practice on it. And they said it was stuff like as small as toe adjustments on their sled to get an extra half a second.
That's crazy. Like it makes me think of the what's the one where they go and do the really big jump and then they do the weird pose, with the skis?
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Like
yes,
I
yes.
imagine that's like similar crazy in terms of like how high you go in the air and like
Hmm.
landing that.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that one's terrifying too. I'm telling you, Winter Olympics, that is the biggest draw for me. The amount of like you could actually kill yourself. The downhill skiers crashes. I mean, Lindsey Vohn's crash, I don't know. I know you guys aren't into sports. I'm just going on to a crowd that won't get it, but it's just crazy.
No, like I think that's really interesting. So like I don't know, for me like team sports don't usually appeal. Like I do like watching World
Oh,
Cup. Like if I'll
hmm.
just randomly flip through the TV like when World Cup's on or just soccer, like that's fun to like just watch. Like I just think it's entertaining. But like the individual sports like that where it's like you
Yeah.
versus something, I think are really interesting. Like even tennis, like the one-on-one kind of
Yeah.
competition is interesting.
I like it because it's like how far we can push ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like when I think about this being just because some British soldiers wanted to go sledding and they wanted, you know what I mean? They just wanted to try
And then
out.
someone was like, I bet I can go do that faster than you, like in like
Exactly.
competition, and then it became a sport.
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel like Randy likes the sports that are like, you could die today. You
I
could die
do.
any second.
I will say I do really love it when there's a huge amount of danger involved, but I like the sports like I was saying to Greg. I like the sports that really are about people pushing themselves to the limit. You know what I mean? Like those are the documentaries that I absolutely love. Shout
Yeah.
out to 14 Peaks, The Alpinist, like just people doing things that are incredible.
Like the dude who just like free climbed, like I haven't watched because I don't really want to
Yeah.
watch the Netflix documentary, but the dude who climbed the Taipei 101 or whatever.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I respect that because it's like you can always tell the way people work or like the effort, the
Mm-hmm.
time, the dedication that goes
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing. There's no scoring. There's no
It's just
point
the time.
system. It's just the time. You just got to be fast and you got to finish the race.
I
And
love how simple that is.
mhm.
This is like in my world with like video games, like speed running is a competitive thing. Like there's world records for that, like how fast you can beat a game.
Mm. Yes, yes. No, I think I've seen this on they did it on Pixels, that movie Pixels. They did something like that.
Yeah. Well, like I have a friend who's like really obnoxious and like he's one of those like kind of toxic friends that you love. And he was showing me all these speed running videos on YouTube with like world records for like the world record for Donkey Kong or something, like what's the highest score you can get. And like it's super competitive. There's all this drama about a guy who cheated with his scores on that and the whole documentary about it because he had the world record and then they like took it away because they like people were able to figure out real through like detective work that he cheated.
And they did the detective work
They
for that.
did, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. No, but
yeah.
it's wild. Like it's its own world of like competitive shit, you know?
I love how you started this, Greg, when you said some people were into sports and some people were into video games. I didn't play video game really until college.
Oh, I just grew up
I
playing
was
them, and
like,
so I'm like,
yep.
yeah, like I've like I'm like cool. I
Agreed.
beat Mario, but I'm not like I have to be the fastest person in the world to beat Mario ever. Like I just like
Mm-mm.
I don't get that competitive spirit, but I like think it's interesting and I respect
Yeah.
it.
See, I think I'm too competitive because I can't play video games now because I'm not good at them, and everyone in my age bracket is phenomenal. I like phenomenally gifted. I'm like, what did I miss out on this whole this whole thing?
I am not good at video games. I would never. I used to sit next to my brother who would play the video games, and I would like read a book, so I didn't. I just read a lot.
I
That's it.
so like I don't like get competitive, but there's a couple of like music like rhythm games that I played obsessively, and at one point like one of them had like a leaderboard for like top scores, and I was in like the top like 100 people with like their score on that song in like the world, which I feel like is pretty cool, but I wasn't ever like I have to be number one at that, you know. I was like cool, I did really well.
Oh wow, Greg. I would have been documenting that. I'd have been like, this is this is going somewhere.
You just go to Randy's house, there's like a frame. This is it.
Yeah, that would be I'm proud of that shit.
I am the best. I mean, you are the best, Randy.
Thank you. I agree.
I guess it's my turn now. Okay, so I decided for my inspiring sports segment, I was gonna do the Tour de France, and in light of recent events, I was like, I'm tired of talking about white people. Sorry, everyone, but I just was like, I can't right now. And I wanted to make more, I wanted to focus more on the contributions indigenous people have made and continue to make in sports. So November is Native American History Month, but here every month is Native American History Month. And um, I said, but we would change the name and not call it Native American History. I was like, what am I trying to say here? Anyway, but a few fun facts. Also, I made a PowerPoint so we can see if I can share it. But we have three like big names in sports and different types of sports. So we have Maria Tallchief from the Osage Nation, who was the first ever major prima ballerina and Native American woman in ballet. We also have Jim Thorpe from the Sac and Fox Nations, who was the first Native to win a gold medal for the United States. He won the pentathlon and decathlon at the 1912 Olympics, and he is considered one of the most multifaceted athletes of his time, having skills in American football, baseball, and basketball. And also Clarence, um, also known as Taffy Abel from the Ojibwe Nation, was the first native to win a medal in the 1924 Olympic Winter Games. I have pictures. Potentially. It's always the sharing that gets me.
I know, I'm kind of upset I didn't realize we could do a PowerPoint. I would have had so many visuals.
Okay. So here it is. And these are our three. Maria Tallchief, who's the prima ballerina, which I was like, why have we never heard of them?
Yeah, she's
Jim Thorpe,
beautiful.
I know. I was like, damn. And then Clarence Taffy Abel. And we will come back to him. I know I did all of these sharings and now I have to go back to my notes. I stopped the share, right? Yeah, there it is. So those are just some fun facts that I found. I thought it was nice. I feel like a lot of finding these hidden histories is like finding people we don't talk about enough, and that definitely includes anyone from indigenous origin. And also, I found out that today many native reservations play a unique type of basketball called resball, which is similar to basketball, but goes at a faster pace than is traditionally played. And I was like, I want to know more and I want to watch. I've never wanted to watch basketball, but here we are. But I wanted to do a little bit of, I wanted to figure out kind of what are like different indigenous sports were played and ended up finding a rabbit hole of like two big sports that have roots or indigenous roots. So lacrosse is the big one, which I had heard Greg and Brandy mentioned and I was intrigued by. And it was originally called stickball and was first played by the Algonquin people in the St. Lawrence Valley. It had no boundaries really, so you could just have like 1,000 people from all sorts of neighboring villages coming by to play the game. And I thought that sounded fun and also really competitive. Because, like, I'm sure you fight with the same people, so it's a different type of fighting. It was used as a game to prepare warriors for combat, but was also used for religious reasons or fun. It was named lacrosse by French missionaries who saw the curved netted sticks that looked similar to a bishop's staff, the crossier. But it was before it was named by Europeans, it was referred to by various indigenous names, including Bagataway, the Algonquin name, or Tiwarathon, the Mohawk name, which Tiwarathon is translated to ball game or little brother of war, which sounds, I mean, that sounds pretty accurate. Like, what is a football game but like a tiny battle for a ball? By 1860, it was declared the national game of Canada after it grew in popularity when the first Europeans watched the indigenous people play the game. Our other game with some indigenous roots is hockey. And it really kind of bummed me out because most places I looked didn't have anything about indigenous people playing it, but you know other people had hockey before European and Canadian people found it. The Lakota Sioux tribe has been known to play a variation of hockey named shinny as early as 1690. It was called shinny by settlers because it was a sport similar to that of a Scottish sport called shinty. So they were like very similar yet different. It was played on frozen ponds with sticks carved and painted bright colors. Pucks were made of fruit, wood, bone, or animal skin, and they would use sharpened animal bones to make the blade for um, the skates, which I had never thought about. Hockey is believed to come from the Iroquois word hog-key, which translates to it hurt, which valid. I have seen hockey very much a handful of times, and everything about that sport looks painful. I'm not going to play it. I say that as a pole dancer, like I don't actively hurt myself every day. Anywho, back to our friend Clarence Taffy Abel. He was the first Indigenous athlete to compete in the Winter Olympics in 1924, where he won silver in U.S. men's hockey. But he was also the first Indigenous athlete to win the Stanley Cup in 1928 as a member of the New York Rangers, which I was like, why do we not know more about him? That is fascinating. Anyway, that's all I have, but let me show you some more pictures because I thought they were fascinating. Lacrosse. I just felt like it was a good representation of having thousands and thousands of people playing lacrosse together.
Wait, wait, wait. This is way more intense than what I was picturing. Why is that dude like biting that other dude's neck?
Well, I imagine that you could be like, if you didn't like someone from a neighboring village and you already had beef with them, like this could be a way to get your frustrations out. I have known lacrosse to be a vicious game.
I mean, yes. I have watched my fair share of lacrosse and it is, I mean, people get hurt.
Yes. I don't know if this level, I don't think they let you bite people now.
Too bad. The sport's getting so soft.
This I wanted to also have like a representation of the lacrosse sticks. I felt, necessary. And then also hockey. This was the only picture I could find of like Indigenous people in hockey, which I felt was a real bummer.
I love how there's like no set number. It's like everyone is doing this. Everyone is involved. Because that's
No,
a lot of people. Like it's a lot that those are big groups of people.
it's amazing they were able to schedule it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pick, but I guess you just pick whatever team of the people I don't know. I don't know how they organized the sport. I didn't look that deep into it, but it seemed like a fun time. Anyway, and that's my that's my segment. It's a smaller segment, but I felt like it was fun to kind of figure out like how different people played similar sports.
I thought the stuff about like modern like records for indigenous people was interesting because like I always focus on the colonial period and so like that's not something I would think of like when did the first indigenous person win a gold medal like in these things, you know? And like I remember again, I don't follow sports, but wasn't there something with like there was some drama related to like an indigenous lacrosse team and like entering like advancing in a tournament or something. I don't know if Randy if you
No,
know
I
or
haven't, but I will be researching that.
there
So,
was some
thank
sort
you.
of drama, and I can't remember if it was like if they got like disqualified for some reason or something, but it was like it was some big deal because it was like the first like all indigenous team like competing, like related to them,
Wow, I'm kind of shocked that I haven't heard
or to
about
the
that.
all indigenous team
Yeah.
or something. Because I think
That
it was
sounds
like the
really
Mohawk
dramatic, though.
Nation that sent a team to the tournament or something.
I mean, those Western tribes.
I probably got some stuff wrong, but like that's like the last thing that I remember with modern stuff that I was like, oh, that's interesting, and then like didn't dig
You're
into.
like never looked at it again. I didn't find anything, but I was looking more history wise, so I didn't look for like recent lacrosse and indigenous stories.
No, but the records were interesting. Like, you know, I'd like 1912 surprised me. You know, I think there's an interesting story there with like someone who's competing in all these other sports.
Well, and then it makes me think of like what were they doing? How were they received at the
Yeah,
sports? Like I want to know more about how their journey was.
I know we were talking about biographies, but I'm like that to me that's an interesting biography, you know?
Yeah, I hadn't even really thought about it until I was looking at it and I assumed like so many things sadly that the first indigenous person to participate in any Olympic sport was going to be like super recently. And so I was also surprised. But then it makes me wonder like where they came from, what happened. We just really know their names right now. I do want to look more into it.
Yeah, especially for me, like with the whole dance background, especially the ballerina, because like I mean ballet is just really hard to get into for anyone. Like, you know what I mean, as far as like nowadays too. So like kind of like hearing maybe about like her trials and tribulations and what she kind of like went through would be really interesting.
Hmm. I'll have to
I
come back to
found
it.
it.
Okay, go on.
Okay. Okay. In an interesting twist of fate, it is the Haudenosaunee Nationals, the Haudenosaunee, for those of you who don't know, is a an Iroquoian group, one of the Iroquois nations. They're up here in New York.
Doesn't it mean people of the Longhouse? I think that's like the like
Mhm.
an English translation.
It's literally when I was talking to you guys last week about doing the diorama about the Longhouse and how much I'm enjoying working
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, yeah. I knew what you were
It's a
talking about.
Haudenosaunee Longhouse that
Yeah.
we're making, but it was a passport issue.
Oh.
Yeah, the U.S. State Department, the U.S. State Department had a put an issue in because they were using it just says, I mean, I'm skimming, so it just says that they didn't have the necessary documents to facilitate travel within and outside the hemisphere. And that their documentation was old. So that's why they were kept from going to the UK.
That sounds like some bullshit.
Yeah, it does. Sure does. I'm It was right after 9/11 though. Not that that's an excuse, but they were doing all kinds of things right after 9/11. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading this on my own time, but thank you so much for exposing
Now we all
me
know
to it.
about hockey.
I will be going down a different rabbit hole before bed tonight.
I just hear
G
hockey and I'm like heated rivalry. Like that's all I
Mhm.
think about.
Greg, you and Mondami are all about heated rivalry right
Have
now,
y'all
and I get
watched
it.
it?
I haven't
No.
watched it. No.
It's so good. Did I tell you all about how like I told my sister about it and she listened to the podcast? Did I tell you all about that?
Mm-mm.
Or to the audiobook of it?
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you all about that story or not?
No.
Mm.
Oh, so I was telling my sister, I was like, oh, y'all should watch this. It's a really good show. And so she's like gardening and downloads the audiobook and listens to the whole thing while she's gardening and just stays out there and like has a really emotional moment because like this is y'all don't know this about me or Karina knows this, but like my brother was gay and passed away and it's a really complicated story.
Mhm.
And so she was having this like really emotional moment and she like texted me, she was like, God damn it, because she keeps track of all the books that she reads. She's like, I didn't think that my first book of 2026 that I finished would be like gay hockey smut.
And then there's Greg.
Good for
Everyone
her
must
though.
read.
No, but it was funny. It was something like now she's watched the show, so we were talking about that the other day. But it's really good. It's really fun.
I'll have to wait forever for it if it's so popular. The line on Libby will be
Well, then
outrageous.
if you want to watch the show, it's on HBO.
Oh, I think I can steal the password.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I have for today. If
Mhm.
anybody has any other comments about our fun, I
The
liked
only
our
fun
sports
fact
story.
I forgot a fun fact. The first Olympic gold medal was given to an American for the skeleton in 1928, and the silver medal was given to his brother.
And now I'm surprised that the skeleton is as old as 1928 because I thought it was a recent sport this whole time.
Well, it just got reintroduced in 2002. So it
Okay,
had a really big break, but that
They do
was
like pull games out and like introduce new ones, right? Like, is
they
that
do.
something that happens? Okay.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
And they retire some, and yeah,
Yeah.
They're
they get
like, we're
some
good
wild
with this for
sports.
a while. We'll bring it back like later.
One thing I did learn is that there is apparently now a minimum number of countries necessary to participate in a sport in order for it to go to the Olympics. That magic number is 25 countries. So a
Oh,
sport has to be in 25 countries at the minimum in order to be considered for the Olympics.
wild.
That's interesting too.
hmm
That's a lot of countries too. But I
Yeah.
guess
I
it makes
learned
sense
so
if it's a
much
global thing.
good information.
That is wild. We do also have a previous episode, I can't remember which one, where we do talk about the Olympics, and the whole episode is about the Olympics, and we cover some of the older Olympic sports. There's in some of the ones that were retired, like there's a lot of weird ones. My favorite is one where you jump off a cliff and you just float off. And that's the
Like
sport.
base jumping?
Yes, but you just don't move. You just there's no you jump and you float and that's it. I
I
don't know
don't
how you
understand. Are you levitating? How do
No,
you
like you
jump
jump
off
and you
a
float
cliff?
in the water. You're just floating
Oh,
around. You just bob around.
I didn't get that there was water at the bottom.
Well, you jump
Is this
from a
one that
cliff
they
to the
retired?
water, diving. You just you
Like, is
just
this
fly
something they
off.
retired a long time ago?
Yes, it's like an older sport. It's an older sport, but
Oh, that's
uh,
interesting.
it was wild. There's a lot of weird sports that they're like, I guess we could do this.
I mean, they
Right.
definitely tried.
But you know what? That also like I don't know like how old it is, but like so there's this really interesting book about this guy who is like the first American celebrity, speaking of biographies, but like like first American is in like once it becomes the United States, right? Like after the Revolution. And he becomes famous for like jumping waterfalls, like seeing like how like he would jump like things that people didn't think were possible to jump into like in the water, like kind of like cliff jumping or something.
Like,
And
wait, like
he's
those old school tar cartoons where like they would climb the ladder and like jump
No,
into
but
the pool.
yeah, but like into like an actual body of water. So imagine like a waterfall like Niagara Falls and someone jumping that and surviving that. Like
Hmm.
smaller than Niagara, but like pretty big ones in places like New York actually. I think that he was jumping in like New York and Massachusetts and did a few others. Um,
So
but it's
just the
interesting.
water though. He wouldn't like put a ring in the water and be like, I'm aiming at
No, but it's
different.
like Carino said, it was all about like the technique though to like survive it and
Okay.
like like
Hmm.
because kids would compete off of like like when they were by a body of water, like oh I bet I can jump higher and higher, and so like everyone had their own technique like in communities for like how you're supposed to land. I just wonder if there's some roots in that.
Yeah, it's
That's,
crazy.
I could see that where but no, I think if I remember correctly, it's just like there's not really a goal. You're just floating.
Huh?
I don't know. I
I
don't know
think
if it's like
so.
if you land the farthest or what, but you're just like there.
That's weird.
Like who looks the
It was a
coolest?
one season sport, I
If it's
think.
like putting your hand on the car the longest, I could do it.
I don't know if I could do that sport. Olympics feels like a lot of pressure, even if it's not doing anything but jumping off a cliff and floating off. I don't know. I'm definitely not doing the skeleton though.
No,
Yeah, not that one.
no. If
Mm-mm.
I'm
Definitely
doing a winter
not.
sport, it's gonna be like curling.
Oh yeah,
Which
that's a good one.
interestingly,
That one seems interesting too. Like I don't know
yeah,
anything about the history of it, but I'm like, what is this?
I
What
want
is
to join
curling?
a curling club so bad. That ironically, there's one in Tulsa as well as here. I have never done it, despite my deep-seated desire to. But what I love about curling is that each one of us are young enough to become a curling Olympian. You don't have to come out of birth playing the game, so it's great.
I love possibilities.
Hmm. Just
We can
remember
start a
that
team.
you still could be an Olympian.
Well, speaking of clubs, Randy, our only announcement before we end today is the book club at on February 26th. I have a screen for this, guys. Don't worry. We will be meeting up and discussing our book of the month. This one,
Hunger
The Hunger
Games.
Games by Suzanne Collins.
I'm looking
Yay!
forward to this. It's been a while.
I haven't read it yet. It's been a long time, but I am
You've
very
never
pumped
read
about it.
it? Like
I
ever?
haven't read it in a long time.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been years. I've read it once. I haven't read any of the other ones. I've read like three, the first three, and that's it. I haven't read
That's all I
anything else.
read too. My
Yeah,
Yeah.
sister was
same.
really into it, and she was like, "You should read these books," because that's how I read Twilight too, because that was a little bit past my time, but um, like that I would have been into it, but she wanted me to read it, so I read all of those.
I did like
Again,
Twilight.
reading for the masses, Greg.
Well,
I
no,
liked
but I was
Twilight
like in
at
college, I
13.
think, at that point when that came out, and so she was super into it because she was in high school, and
Same.
I was just like, okay, cool. And she was like, you have to read these. And I was like, all right. Because I grew up like when I was a high school kid, I liked all the Anne Rice vampire books. And so I was like,
Yep.
fuck Twilight. This isn't going to be anywhere as good as these books. So I like hate read them. But then like took her to see the movie premieres because she couldn't drive. So it was fun.
I read all of those. I love them so much. I was in love with Edward, and then now as a 32-year-old woman, I'm like,
None of them, please.
no,
None of them. It's
no,
not Team Edward or Team Jacob.
they're
It's
all
Team Walk
bad.
Away. Walk away, girl.
One of my favorite shows on, I love true crime on TV, and one of my favorite shows is Obsessed about people that have like stalkers. And let me tell you, the similarities were shocking
Hmm.
and it's concerning. And then I read somewhere that Robert
Whatever his
Pattinson.
name
Hmm.
is.
Patton, yes, that he hated Edward.
Oh,
He's
like
like,
as
I'm
a
just here.
character?
Hmm.
Yes. He's like, I'm just here for the money. He's like,
Oh.
I think the things he's doing are creepy too. And I was like,
Have y'all watched the show The Magicians?
Oh, oh, actually, I
Randy.
go in through two really opposite emotions just there. Sorry. Yes,
Right?
I love that show. I was really sad because of all the Neil Gaiman controversy.
oh,
That was what got me.
Was that a Neil Gaiman thing? The Magicians? I thought
Magicians?
that's like Lev Grossman or something. Like
Actually,
it's
you
a
could be
different
making
author.
my day right now.
No, I
Is
think it's
it
a
Lev
different
Grossman?
author. I'm
Thank
pretty
God.
sure it's a
Neil
different guy.
Gaiman really
It's
does
not
something
no,
to
so
me.
like I'm devastated by that because that was also like one of my favorite. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I'm
I
thinking of
read Good Omens
American
and then read
Gods.
all of his books. So like that one hurt a lot, like especially the Vanity Fair article or whatever
Hmm.
about all the
Hmm.
fucking
Hmm.
depraved shit that he did. But The
Hmm.
Magicians I don't think is him.
No, you're right. I'm
But have
looking it
you
up right
seen
now.
it?
It's so. Have you seen it, Karina? Oh,
Have y'all
you
seen it,
said
Karina or Christina? Oh, it's really fun. Like it's probably like it's one of my wife
a
Brooke's
little
favorite
triggering.
shows.
It's just a little triggering.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
it's like a fucked up
Margot.
like adult Harry Potter meets Narnia and it's like weird and fucked up
well,
fantasy. But
now
you
I
were
kind of want to
talking
watch it.
But
It's
you were
no,
talking
it's
about like Edward
really
hating
good.
the character. Like, so apparently everyone hates Quentin. Like, he's a whiny bitch, is like one of the things. But apparently everyone's like, he's worse in the
Except I
books,
cry.
apparently.
I mean, he
Like,
makes me cry, I will
he's
say.
worse in the books, apparently. Like, I haven't read them. That's on my list of like stuff I want to read at some point. But the show's really good.
Hmm.
Also, Margot and Elliot are just
Oh my God.
best.
Wow, there's so much I want to say right now. But Karina, since you're going to watch it, I'm going to wait. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
gonna
want to say
sit
any
on it.
spoilers, but it's such a good show.
Well, now I feel like, yeah, I have to read this and watch it and experience. I have like, now I have another list of
Like
books
I
to
have
read.
a
We,
favorite episode. I have a favorite
Oh my
episode.
God. No, my wife has a favorite one too. Like I'm curious what your favorite one is, but I might like
I'm gonna say
side
one
text you
word.
about
I'm gonna
that.
say one word. My favorite episode is Tiles.
Yes. Oh my fucking God.
Mhm.
Yes, I
Mhm.
know exactly what you mean.
Yep, that's my favorite
all right,
episode.
Christina. So we are out of the loop.
We have to get on
Our bad.
Discord and watch it
No, it
together.
is arguably the best episode of the entire show, like hands down. There's no
Okay.
question.
Well,
Yeah,
before we follow
phenomenal.
this rabbit hole anymore, I'm gonna let our listeners go. But thank you so much for joining us on another episode, especially this video episode of the Sip and Saga Society. If you have any histories, mysteries, or stories you think should be told, feel free to DM us on Instagram or Facebook at Sipandsaga_society or visit our website at Sipandsaga.online, where you can become a member and join us for our book club. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll just see you next time. But bye bye.
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 Awesome.